someday in the not too distant future, I'm going to come onto this show and tell you about how San Diego State, once future Pac-12 member, RIP, is a playoff contender. I don't know if that's this year. I'll get to their transfer portal class, which is mighty impressive. But Shawn Lewis is the guy they have hired to be their head coach. This is a program, by the way. When you think power in the Mountain West and premier brands, elite programs, I hope you think about San Diego State just as much as, a Fresno or a Boise, for instance. The Aztecs are coming off of their first losing season in 14 years. I don't care what conference you're in. That's mighty impressive. So this is a place that if you have it rolling correctly and you're operating at the level you should, you're a contender in the conference. And by default, you are a college football playoff contender because we have an auto bid for the group of 5. You can think of that whatever you like. It's not going anywhere this year. It's not going anywhere next year. We'll see what the playoff structure ends up being in 2026 and beyond. I suspect the group of 5 will lobby hard, and I think they'll be successful in maintaining an automatic bid to the college football playoff as the 5th highest ranked conference champion. So the Mountain West champion certainly is on the table for that. And San Diego State, if they were to be a part of rebuilt Pac-12, again, would have access to the playoff there. But Shawn Lewis is their head coach. He was most recently seen as the offensive coordinator at Colorado this past year, a job that he took with the intention of landing a larger head coaching position. And though Colorado had an up and down year, and it was an up and down situation, which I didn't really care for as it pertained to Lewis as the offensive coordinator, his mission has been accomplished. He went from Kent State head coach in 2022 to Colorado offensive coordinator. He was stripped of play calling duties despite the offense not actually being the problem. The offensive line could not block a JV high school team, and the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. But Shawn Lewis was the problem. Okay. So Lewis then goes down to San Diego State, takes the head coaching opportunity after Brady Hoke says, yeah, it's time for me to step aside, and he's brought in quite the transfer portal class. And if you look at what Shawn Lewis left behind at Kent State, it wasn't very good. His record isn't going to wow you. He was 24-31 in his time as Kent State's head coach. And guess what? He left and they went 1-11. I think he was pretty good. Do we know if he's great? Yet to be seen. That suggests that Kent State is not the easiest place to win, and he appeared in a couple of bowl games, and he won one of them. Appeared in 2, won 1. So, and in 2022, they kind of set him up to just make money for the athletic department. They played Washington, Oklahoma, and Georgia in the same year. They made like $2 million as a department. That's the way football works at the Group of 5 and FCS level. Such is the way of life. But he goes down to San Diego State, which I am most intrigued by because San Diego State is a place that, as I've mentioned, can be really good if you're doing it right. The early indicators are very good. So Shawn Lewis has brought in 25 transfers in this 2024 cycle. 25. Do you know how many are coming down from the Power 4 ranks? They were at Power 4 schools a year ago and are now going to play for San Diego State. That answer is 10. 10 of the 25. I didn't even mention the myriad of Mountain West transfers that decided, oh, yep, I want to go play for him over there. Yeah, I think he can do it. Shawn Lewis at Colorado last year was the primary architect, as much as any coach, behind their upset win over TCU. Because that game was not won with Colorado's defense, it was won with their offense. And Shawn Lewis was calling that game. He did so masterfully. Now, what's the quarterback situation going to be? Whatever it is for the Aztecs, it's not going to be as strong as Shedeur Sanders, who is a bona fide first-round NFL draft selection. Still, the success he had a year ago leads me to believe, okay, yeah, this guy is a good offensive mind. Okay, yeah, he's got the coaching pedigree where he won at a place that doesn't win a whole heck of a lot of football games. Oh, and here he is early in his tenure bringing in a high level of talent compared to what they were doing previously. Those are 3 really good indicators. Plus, I think this is a 4th one. It's a little more under the radar. He's got to have a chip on his shoulder. He went to Colorado. The offense was tearing it up. The defense was terrible. The offensive line stunk. There were a bunch of penalties, and he was stripped of play calling duties. By the way, it didn't help anything. I find myself rooting for Shawn Lewis for that reason, because I just don't care. I've talked about this with Gus Malzahn at Auburn. I'm rooting for Gus Malzahn. I didn't think Auburn treated him correctly because he got run out of town, and I was like, I don't know, this guy seems pretty good. And then Brian Harsin was worse, and Hugh Freeze is just trying to build it up and undo the damage that was done during those 2 years of illustrious Auburn Tigers football. So I look at those situations, and I just kind of root for those sorts of guys. Shawn Lewis is on that list. So when he gets the ball rolling for San Diego State, I have no doubt they will return to be a Mountain West contender. The question is when. The question is how quickly. I don't think it's this year. In spite of the talented transfer portal class, the schedule's tough. I mean, the schedule is tough. Remember, you have to be the highest ranked Group of 5 conference champion. I don't think San Diego State in one off season is going to go from 4-8 to you have to be at least 10-3, at least, if not 11-2. I don't think that jump is arriving for the Aztecs. Could they go over their win total of 5.5 and make a bowl game? Yep, I can see it. Even with a tough schedule, I can absolutely see that because I think Lewis is good. They've got some nice talented players that they brought in the transfer portal. But it's going to be really, really hard. I think the time for them to become a Mountain West contender and therefore a playoff contender is in the 2 to 3 year range. I think that's the time. I think this year, try to make a bowl game. That's successful. Year 2, win at least 8 games. That's successful. Then year 3 is when you can have the expectation to win a conference championship. Now, those standards for year 2, they can be reset quickly if they come out in year 1 and they go, let's say 8-4 this year. Well, then you'd be looking at the offseason saying, oh, you got to be licking your chops to the transfer portal. Find some more Power 4 drop downs, try to recruit pretty well. I think the recruiting is in a pretty stable spot, slightly above where, kind of the average classes of the Brady Hoke era were at the end. But, if you can have a recruiting class that just kind of pushes to be top 50, that'd be well above where San Diego State typically recruits. But that's not where I'm looking for their talent acquisition. They have the most commitments in the class of 2025 in the entire Mountain West. They got 15 guys pledged to the Aztecs in the upcoming and current-ish, whatever you want to call it, recruiting cycle. That, again, is a really, really good sign because it means he's got an eye for talent, got some connections, and people are buying in to whatever the message he and his staff are selling on the trail. So I'm encouraged by what Shawn Lewis is doing so far. The reason I don't put them as anything more than maybe a bowl team this year, here are games that they have to play this year. Now, think about this from a Mountain West standpoint, right? If, Florida goes and plays the schedule, it's a different deal. It's a different ordeal. But here's their schedule. They host Oregon State on September 7th. Not going to be an easy game. They go at Cal the following week. That's going to be a hard game. On October 26th, they host Washington State. Okay, so they've got both of the former Pac-12 schools, who I think are going to be 8 to 9 win teams this year. They go at Boise State November 1st. Good luck. At UNLV November 16th. Look, not the toughest place to play, but a pretty good football team with a good head coach and a good staff. I don't think it's easy. And then their regular season finale is hosting Air Force. Death, taxes, and Air Force winning 8+ games in the Mountain West with Troy Calhoun at the helm again. So I think for the Aztecs, they've made a good hire here. Lewis could be a guy, quite frankly, who finds himself at a bigger school in a few years. He has to rebuild San Diego State into a Mountain West contender. If he does, I could absolutely see him parlaying that into a Big 12 job. Given that he was an offensive coordinator and had success in that realm, I could see that being the case. But for now, if you're an Aztecs fan, you're trying to get back to that conference contending and now for a playoff contending level through that auto bid for the Group of 5. That's going to happen, just not this year. Patience, as they say, is a virtue. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.